Welcome to the desk of Coach Hess. I'm here with Di, and we're talking cash is king today. Cash is king. And we know that that's important for personal life and also for business life, right? When we start talking about what's going on with cash. Well, in a business, there's four types of cash, and we're going to dig into each of them in this session. All right. The first type of cash is kind of what I like to call the ego line. Makes you feel good. Yeah, give me the revenue. Right? Revenue's number one. And so that's what's coming in the door. And what you need to be able to do in terms of understanding that is what's happening month over month. And that's your marketing and what's your annuity, what's your consistencies, or all those things that are leading to revenue. And we'll dig in more into what drives revenue and marketing in a few minutes. Second one is profit. So anytime you have revenue, there's going to be some costs to running a business. And we're going to look both at variable costs. All right, those that are associated directly to the sale or to the revenue line. In other words, in that variable line, if you had no sales, you'd have no expense on the variable lines. It's like if they call it a cost of goods sold. So what does it cost you to sell your product? In your case, we're talking about leasing a place. That's part of a cost of goods, but is that a fixed expense? Not a variable expense, meaning you pay it on a monthly, or do you pay it on a variable? If you pay it on a monthly and it's a flat fee, then we'd want to put that into your fixed line, right? But whatever we've got to do is take all the expenses out so that we end up with that next type of cash, which is profit. Profit is the second type of cash, and it's a different type of cash than revenue. You're driving to get the revenue. Profit, you're taking it places to give you reinvestment, grow your business, grow yourself, however you want to look at that. The third type of cash that we'll talk about, and I'll show you the whole form, we'll go through each of these on a spreadsheet and look at it in a 12-month pro forma, all right, here in a second. The third type is your flow, the flow of cash, month over month over month over month. What does it look like? See, in order to be able to make good decisions in your business, you need to really understand what kind of cash flow you have, because when you don't have cash, you can't pay your suppliers, you can't pay all those things that are on the expense line, you can't run your business. So got to be a profitable business, but when you have profit, you have to be smart with it. And so when we look at it month over month, we want to project that. If we have big expenditures coming up, like capital expenditures, some clients I'm dealing with are getting into going from residential work in the trade industry, moving to commercial work. And as they move to commercial work, what happens is that we see the revenue line gets adjusted because it takes longer to bring the money in. It's a bigger job. The second thing that happens is that our expense numbers, our suppliers want to get paid, and we may not have the money in, and we create something called a cash gap. Knowing about that before it happens allows you to prepare and make good decisions in terms of what's happening with your cash, because it's expensive. If you've got to go loan money or borrow money to do that kind of thing, oh my gosh, people are charging crazy rates. Credit card rates are 20%. I mean, that's just burning money. You can't do that in your business. You have to be ahead of that. And the fourth type of cash we'll talk about is equity. That is, what is your business worth? If somebody's going to come to you today, Di, and say, I want to buy your business, and here's $1 million. Are you going to take that million and run? Maybe, maybe not. Just depends on where you are in your business, right? Or whatever somebody's going to offer you for your business, that's what the equity really is. Now, the first question that a broker will ask any business owner about the equity situation when we want to sell a company. And of course, there's all kinds of end games in a company. You might want legacy, pass it on to my family, but whatever. But building a business is building equity. And you need to look at it that way, because it's one of the best investments you can make. It's a fantastic return if you build your business properly, running the systems, and something that, here's the question the broker will ask. How dependent is this business on you, Di? And if your answer to that question is 100% dependent on me, the multiples of the value of your business will decrease quickly. The more you can say it runs without me and it's a money machine, the more value you will have. And so the long-term goal is to build a machine, which may take several years to do, but that's certainly the strategy I think you need to think about when you're investing in building a business and putting things into it. Is that at the end, if my revenues are $1 million a year, and I can get 3x on that because my clientele's this and this and this and all the assets I've got and so on, gee whiz, 3x on your revenues is a pretty nice number to maybe walk away with, for an investment of 5 years, 6 years. That's the way to think about what we're going into here. Any questions on that?
No, sir, not right now.
Okay, let me surprise your eyes here with a template, a whole bunch of numbers, and you let me know if I need to increase size or anything for you to see. Are you okay with that or too tight?
I can see it.
All right. So the concept here, this is just a model and a template we're talking about, okay? The top line, this one right here, all right, is the revenue line. So we projected our revenues for 2023 based on our average actual in 2022 was 20,000. So we took a conservative run at it and said, well, let's just flatline this out for the rest of the year and give us $234,000 for our goal for 2023. All a guess. You can go back, and what you really need to do when you get precise with this is go back in last year and go, what were my big months, what were my slow months, and make adjustments in your projections accordingly. So far, so good?
Yes, sir.
Yep. This is called a P&L, a profit and loss statement. All right. A profit and loss statement is something a business will get every month, maybe every 2 weeks, maybe every week, depending on how fast they move on things. It's also called an income statement. It's exactly the same thing. And all we're doing is taking the profit and loss because the accountants are interested in the actuals, right? What happened? Well, we're interested, where are we going? What's in front of us? So we need to take what the actuals are from previous and then try to project based on what we've learned and how we get smarter in our business to be better. And it's a continuous game. If you don't know your numbers, you don't know your business. It's that simple. All right, so you're good with the income line or the revenue line, top line, number one type of cash we're talking about?
Yes.
How you generate that, a whole bunch of other discussions, right? Marketing and a whole bunch of other things to look at. I've got some really cool tools to build revenue. I think the biggest thing in that is test and measuring. What works, what doesn't, in terms of you do have to invest in marketing to drive people to you. Where you invest at, whether it's Facebook ads or where's the right clientele, whether you're doing Twitter or whether you're just going out and shaking hands and networking like you were at BNI. All of those are potential areas of marketing that you have to test and measure all the time and see where your best results come from. And then I also like to project or push people to look at their top clients and try to get them to be raving fans or advocates of their business. However you can do that and make them feel really positive, because it's a lot of personalization in your type of business. And the more they feel pride in that, the better. But anyway, a whole bunch of ways to deal with growing businesses. So that's that. Now, what you can see below there is we're talking about expenses, right? All of these lines are variable and fixed expenses. Now, I've got them kind of thrown around as a little bit variable on the top and pretty flat, but typically these lines will change a lot, right? Based on how much you sold or how much you marketed or how much you did. If you had a big marketing hit here, say you had a $700 hit in marketing, kind of mess things up, but your return on that is you think, gee, by March, that marketing program is going to change this number to 25. What we just did, we just adjusted the whole model based on, we just invested in marketing. We think we're going to get the return on it here. That's giving it, recognizing what I'm showing you, Di, is all positive stuff. In the real world, when we lock down, there's a lot of what needs to be cut. In order to make sure Our next line that we're interested in is this line, right? Next type of cash. So here's our profit from our business. As you can see, our expenses on 19,500, our expenses are only 2,130. Total expenses are 34 or 3,500, right? 3,490, I mean. Giving us income before we take payments, and we have some admin payments we take out. Now recognize in this model, we haven't taken any money out for you as the owner. And that's something you may set up as a fixed. You set yourself up as a W-2. There's some reasons for that, and making sure you get your Social Security down the road, other kind of ideas you need to pay attention to. And so you can move these wherever they need to be moved. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, when you take this template that I give you, you're going to come in here and put your own numbers in, and you're going to go into these and adjust them, or you might need to add another line in, right? Or take some out. It will the integrity in the spreadsheet will maintain on the summation lines, right, and stuff. You can see I've got a sum column there. As long as you don't change those, you're all right. You can add in the middle. So back to the profit line. What are we doing with profit? See, at this, in our percentage, if we look to the far right, we're running at 66% profit. That's a sweet business. You can run that kind of profit margin, you're doing well. But this income line, what I do is I take profit and I get my clients to think about profit first. So when we have this kind of profit, where are we going to allocate it? And this can be fixed to whatever you want it to be. In this case, we're decided that our owner's compensation is going to be based on our profitability. This number goes way down. January was a really bad month. We did 10,000. Uh-oh. Owner gets to only take home 2,100. Yeah, it'll change the allocation of, right? The concept being, as you build this out, as you start thinking about what am I doing with my profit? Well, a lot of times the owner compensation can be very much, you can put that up in your regular line, take your 5,000 a month or whatever you need, and then use that line as some kind of investment. Oftentimes a life investment policy that you can take loans on later in life and use it as an equity play is not a bad thing to consider in your young age, depending on who's dependent on you. But different things like that you need to consider. What to do with the profit. Different type of cash, right, than what this is. All right, the third type of cash we've been talking about all along here, and that is the flow. What's happening month over month over month. And you can see on the screen that, we start playing the games with it. We had this bigger month in March. We might say, oh, gee, just because we had a bigger month, we're not doing so much in advertising, but, all of a sudden we got a whole bunch of meals we got to take care of or something, so we got to add that up to 600, not 6,000, and it starts to make what other things? Well, gee, if we're doing that kind of number and we're projecting there, wouldn't this number be, closer to 23? And then what's that going to affect? And on you go, right? You need, as a business owner, to understand your numbers, think all the way through the year like that. What's going to happen if this happens? What am I projecting? Where am I going to put my investments? These is all really important things for you to think about, in terms of your business for the year. And that's the flow concept. Important on the flow, as you look out here on the far right, you start to identify what are your biggest expenses. And you get these percentages, right? And you can see they're quite low. In terms of the percent, your only total expenses are only 16%, 17% of your income. Realistically, I don't know if that is. It'd be tough to do that if you're real. When you get real about these numbers you're putting in for the expenses and the card and everything that goes into what it takes to run your business, and you really need to think that way. Any questions on this so far, Di? You feeling all right?
Yeah, I'm feeling all right. Everything's pretty It's followable. I can follow.
Yeah. I mean, you can see it's a great model if you have a top line of 233,500 and your bottom line is 152. You could live on that. And if you take an owner's compensation at 50%, and even we made those adjustments, you'd still be at 91. If you can make that kind of money against that kind of number and use these other things to grow yourself and grow your equity and your business and everything else in yourself, having $1 million business is no big deal all of a sudden.
That's where I'm gonna get to.
Yeah, I love it. Well, here's the second tab that you'll build when you build yours out, is you'll want to come over here to the second tab, which is all about what's break even based on what we built. Does that make sense to you? Break even, you know what I'm talking about. When do we get our money back for what we put in? Based on the model, and I see I've got to fix this, right? Based on the model for 2023 that we built, we projected 2,333,500. Our cost of goods sold, or our variable costs, were 12,259. Therefore, our gross income, all right, prior to taking out fixed expenses, is 95%, which is very big, right?
Yeah.
So when you fill in yours, you'll see, get familiar with it. The other part of this, so you look over here in the next column, is your fixed cost now come out at 26,460, right? That was our total fixed cost number. Take our gross margin of 95%, and that means in order for you to break even in sales, you need $28,000. Isn't that crazy? But that's because of the 95%.
Yeah.
You take out all the rest, it doesn't cost you much to do your business. So that's where you can get to break even. Once you put the real numbers in there, you'll see a little different result. But the other thing with that is that it also breaks it down monthly, weekly, and daily. And in your case, under this model, in this situation, somebody'd have to do $77 of sales a day to break even. That's just to break even, absolute minimum. So, you always got to be above that. Weekly 537 and monthly 23.
Yeah.
Now, next part is what's your average dollar sale? And that's based on a monthly kind of widget of what you sell as a widget. So if it's a monthly fee, if they're paying $500, what you're going to need for a break-even transaction, right, is you're going to need 55 of those in the year, 56 of them to break even. Whatever that you decide that unit of sale is. It's really important to know your average dollar sale. Keep track of that as a running number. And then if your conversion rate, you say my conversion rate is of the people I talk to about my business that are real leads. Now you have to define what a lead is. But of the people that I have that are leads, what's my conversion rate? If you say, oh, gee, 50%. If that's the case, you got to talk number of leads required to break even is 111. Leads you got to talk to in order to make this model work.
And this right here, the 111 is yearly, right?
Yeah, we're talking an annual. It's on the annual. But these are, again, just break even numbers. So I want you to, don't be fooled by this. This is your minimum goal, what your minimum standard has to be to get to above profitability. Fair enough?
Yes, sir.
All right. So back over real quick review. 4 types of cash. Know that the first one is line 4 in this spreadsheet. We know that our second type of cash is profit. Basically an extended P&L or a pro forma, we call that. Our third type of cash is what's happening month over month over month throughout the year. What's the flow look like? And the fourth type of cash is your equity. What is your company worth? And if you know your numbers and project your numbers, have record of these numbers, your business will be worth much more when it comes time to sell it or move it on. It just gives it more equity because you're under control. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Any questions on that? How do you feel about it?
Nah, that something that you said, if you don't know your numbers, you don't know your business, and that hits. Like, that's good.
Now, I don't know if you can pull this off your phone, but I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to give you that, what I just worked through. Give me 1 second. And that'll bring us a conclusion to our recording of Cash is King. Thank you for joining us. From over and out from the desk of Coach Hess.